Hi, good afternoon. Well, almost good evening, and welcome to the first edition of my regular live show on a Monday, eSpeakerLIVE. Now, if you've been following me at all, you'll know that I've been on a 31-day challenge, which ended on Thursday. I was online for 31 days, really just getting the hang of it all and trying to find my way around. And now at the end of those 31 days, I've been having to sit down over the weekend and think, where do I go? On Friday, I had booked up an extra speaker. So I made that my first gender speaker live show. And I've decided that I'm going to be running two shows. On a Monday, I'm going to be doing a gender speaker show. So I'll just type that in because I didn't put that in my agenda. Gender speaker live. So that's going to be the show that I'm going to run on a Friday. And that's going to be all things gender, because as a speaker, my primary area of primary focus of my speaking tends to be in the field of gender. I talk about transgender awareness. I talk about gender equality. And there's an awful lot going on about that at the moment. It seems to be in the news all the time, various different things coming up. We had the BBC announcing all the pay grades for its senior presenters recently, which caused all sorts of challenges because it was quite clear that men were getting paid an awful lot more than women. Then we've had issues about people not being happy about young kids going to school and dealing with their gender issue while they're at school. All of these are the sorts of issues I'm going to be picking up in this show. So I want to make sure that on that gender speaker show, we pick up on the kind of issues that are happening in the news. But more than that, I also want to be interviewing people. So I'm going to be tracking down trans people, people in diversity, people who are anything to do with gender equality, and not necessarily people I agree with. I'm more than happy to bring on people on the show who, and we're going to have a bit of a debate. Hopefully we can keep that nice and civil, but who knows? This is an emotional topic. So that's what's going to happen on Fridays. On Mondays, today, this is all going to be about the eSpeaker show. Now, eSpeakerLIVE is different from me because eSpeakerLIVE, that's all about speaking. Now, I've been speaking professionally now for over 30 years, nearly 40 years, but not speaking online for that long. So when it comes to speaking online, that's fairly new. Now, eSpeaker is a brand I've had for a very long time. Back in the 90s, which, my God, it doesn't seem that long ago, does it? But it is a long time ago. Back in the 90s, 20 odd years ago, my specialism as a speaker was technology. I worked in the financial services sector for a long time, and then I learned all about technology, was passionate about technology, got very heavily involved in it. So back in the day when people didn't even know there was an internet, I was actually building my first website. In fact, my first website went up in 1994. Can hardly believe that. 1994. I even wrote a book, The ABC of the World Wide Web, in 1998. I was looking at that the other day. Oh my God. It's like a history book. All the things that 1998, Google didn't even exist. That tells you how far back it is. I mean, most people now don't even talk about searching the internet. We talk about Googling a topic. Now, it was Alta Vista and all sorts of different names back then. Anyway, that was when I wrote my second book, and it was the ABC of the World Wide Web, specifically for financial advisors, because I'd spent 10 years helping financial advisors get online and get to understand how the whole online world was working. So I've had a lot of experience with social media, with online, with intranets and extranets. So that's been a huge background for me, and it sort of disappeared when I changed gender. Gender became the big focus of my life, and the technology sort of faded away. But I'm bringing it back, and so that's what this show is going to be about. It's actually all about looking at how do we start to tackle the issues of being a speaker online. And I think this is going to be a real challenge for a lot of speakers, because I'm noticing I've been doing a lot of interviews. You may have followed some of the interviews last week. Most of those people who are speakers are not yet dealing with speaking online. They might do the odd video here and there. Sneeze. Sorry. Oh, there you go. Problems of being online. If it happens, it has to happen. So I'm going to be experimenting. I'm going to be doing all sorts of things here on this show. I'm going to be interviewing people, interviewing some experts. You may have seen my interview with Leland Best, who's one of the experts in this, but there are lots of people I'm going to be interviewing about speaking online, women and men, just trying to find out how people are doing or what tools they're using and what techniques they're using. So I want this to be a show where we really can start to sort of have a look at different things that are going on, try different ideas. I've set up a Facebook group, eSpeakerLIVE. So all you have to do, have a quick search on Facebook for eSpeakerLIVE, join that group, and come along. Just get into the group. If you want to practice doing live presentations, if you want to practice doing a keynote online, do it. Now, what's going to happen down the line, I'm not absolutely sure yet, but I certainly will be looking at doing some very interactive groups. And I'll be honest, right up front now, some of that is going to be where I charge, because some of that is where I'm going to use my skill as a speaking coach. And if that's happening, then I'm going to trade my skill. Because I do need to make a living, but at the same time, I want to try and create a community and create a place where people who are speakers can actually engage and exchange ideas. Now, if you know me well, you know my background is in speaking. I've worked a lot with Toastmasters. I set up the PSA, and I've worked a long time in helping to make the PSA successful. I've stepped back from that. Other people are taking that on to the future now, but I still want to contribute, because I like helping speakers. It's my passion. I love speaking. So there's my two passions, gender and speaking and technology, three passions. So gender, speaking, technology. And that's all going to come together. And we're going to look at ways here. I'm looking at the speaking and the technology. How can we make that work? About 2 years ago, I was asked if I would speak in Hong Kong, but it was a virtual summit. A virtual speech. In fact, it was a conference, they had people there, and they wanted me to speak online. I couldn't demonstrate that I had the experience of doing it. So what I've been doing for the past couple of years is learning. How do we do this? Getting Udemy courses, looking at how other people are doing it, talking to other speakers. Not very many are doing this, but some are. Patricia Fripp, who I'm a huge fan of, I've spoken on a platform with Fripp long time in the past. She is a brilliant speaker coach. And I noticed the other day she was doing live coaching from San Francisco straight to Ireland. So Fripp's way ahead of the game, which is really, really excellent. And I hope maybe I can get Fripp and Terry Brock and a few other of the speakers who are ahead of the game to come on the show and have a chat. So that's what we're doing. I'm not absolutely sure what time we're going to do this yet. I'm thinking about, this is UK time, I'm thinking about 1:30 p.m. or 4:30 p.m. I've got something that goes on at 3 and 4 on a Monday, so I need to, but it's a good day for me because I'm already online. I'm already planned and scheduled to be online, so probably might do that. 1:30 is good for internet here, and it's a good time in the UK. 4:30, not quite so good. I did an interview, in fact, around about 5:36. Last week, had all sorts of problems with internet connectivity. Now, I've got quite good connectivity here. Not everybody has. So I might have to play around with the times until we find one that works. But largely, most people watch afterwards, so I may not worry too much about the time. It's all about speaking. That's going to be the focus. eSpeaker is all about improving your ability as a speaker. But whether that's online or offline, doesn't matter. We're going to look at the same things. I'm finding that these things are beginning to merge together. There are going to be times when you have to speak the same talk, to take your keynote and deliver it online. Maybe you're going to look at workshops. How do you deliver a workshop online that you're normally used to delivering offline? What can we do? How about looking at Udemy courses? So how about using Teachable? All these various different tools. So I want to explore on this every week. We're going to be picking up on these topics. It's stuff I'm already doing. It's stuff I'm already been learning the past 3 or 4 years. So I'm going to be picking up. Now, today, you'll notice I'm using a black backdrop. I'm buying a few more backdrops. I'm going to be looking at green screen and all these sorts of things on how we do it and how it works. It terrifies me, green screen, I'll be honest, your chroma key. Because it's more technology, more that can go wrong. Now, I just put a black background behind me, and all of a sudden my lights lit me up and you couldn't see my face. It was just bright. I thought, whoa, What do I do on that? So just with a light at the moment, I'm just using the light from a window and a small light on the other side just to try and balance it up because there was too much shadow on that side of my face. So suddenly I'm finding just by putting a black background in, I've had to change all the lighting. Okay, well, that's maybe something we can talk about. How do we light different sets? As I learn all that, as you've got experiences, maybe we can talk about those sorts of things. What sort of camera are you using? I'm using a Logitech 920 here, but I've also got a Canon camera. It's not an expensive one, but I'm looking at losing that DSL camera, but I'm not quite sure how to connect that up because I've got to connect that up with Bluetooth. Another bit of technology that can go wrong. What do we use for microphones? Do I use headphones? All of these are the sorts of issues that I want to be talking about. How do we set things up? How do we make it look more and more professional and make it look good? Now, today I'm using BeLive.tv. BeLive is a platform that enables me to basically to present through Facebook Live, but I can put some control on. So these nice little things at the bottom here, the lower thirds, as they're called. I can just pop those up and hide them whenever I want. So that's very neat. You can't really do that on Facebook unless you've got a tool like this. But yeah, it does help, and I can bring speakers in. I can have other things. I mean, I've got my logo. I'm just going to show you a couple of logos. These are the simple logos, so I can pop those in beside me. I can even make those be the big center of it all. eSpeaker.com. That website now exists, but there's not an awful lot on it because I've set it up, just bought some software to start playing with that. So that one's going to be up there soon. But also, of course, the PSA, I'm going to be talking to my fellow friends in the PSA and hopefully getting a few of them on here to talk about their experiences. I know more and more people are using technology. I want to find out what people's experiences are. What fees do you charge when you're using when you're doing a virtual speech? Is it the same as when you're going to be there live? Do we have different tariffs for speaking online? These are all interesting topics, aren't they? Also going to be talking about how to use Zoom. Now, Zoom is a conferencing software. I use Zoom quite a lot. I'm a member of a couple of groups that use Zoom. I see Toastmaster clubs using Zoom. Perfect piece of software, perfect product for being able to do online webinars and seminars, and where you've got seminars, particularly where you've got people interacting. Has a small problem. Zoom requires a piece of software to be downloaded onto the PC. I work with the public sector. They have huge issues about anybody loading software onto their machine. A lot of organizations do. It's very risky. Last thing they want is a virus infecting their entire corporate systems. So they might not be happy with Zoom unless they're already using it. So we may be looking at another product, which I also use, called AppearIn. AppearIn is a similar type of product to Zoom, not quite so flexible from my perspective, more difficult to record it, so that it's more difficult to get to, can record it, but I have to use some screen capture software to capture that. Now I use a Mac now. Amazing. I spent all my years as a PC fanatic, switched to Mac a couple of years ago, and I haven't got any PCs at all now. It's all Mac. So to edit software, to edit things, I'm putting together some courses at the moment. I was going to use some of the live software like Zoom and AppearIn to record. I found that it doesn't, for some reason, what you record isn't necessarily what you see on screen. These products often adapt to whoever's watching it. So because they're that flexible, I needed, when I was recording a course, to control exactly what was going to be on screen because I want it to be the way I want it to see it. So I'm using a product called Wondershare from Filmora. Brilliant piece of software. Excellent for screen recording. You can do, you can have a picture of you inside of a PowerPoint or keynote presentation. So it does give an enormous amount of flexibility. And again, I'm going to be looking at demonstrating that and trying to show how we can use these various different products and services online. So this is what eSpeakerLIVE is going to be all about. It's all about speaking, but it's about speaking online. it's about speaking offline. It's going to be a Monday show, and we're going to be running as far as I can work out. I'm going to give a try the 1:30 or 4:30 to start with. 1:30 certainly is okay for Eastern time in the US. It's about 8:30 there. 4:30, okay, that means that people in the West Coast will be able to join as well. So, but at the same time, 4:30 is horrible for internet traffic, and that can really slow things up, because the last thing I want is bad Wi-Fi, because that messes up the broadcast. Anyway, so that's where we are. That was just what I thought I'd do today, is talk to you a little bit about what we're doing, what I'm doing. eSpeakerLIVE on Mondays, Gender Speaker Live on Fridays, 2 shows a week, and lots of other things happening as I'm putting products together and trying to find my way around this whole field of eSpeakers. So why don't you join me on eSpeakerLIVE, and let's together take this internet by storm. Look forward to seeing you on Friday or on Monday. Take care.